And now it's time for The Catch, which takes you around the Great Lakes to hear from reporters about the issues they're covering. Bite-sized news briefs about the lakes you love.
At beaches along Lake Michigan, scientists are studying how well whitefish are surviving to adulthood in the Great Lakes. Kurt Williams is a journalist with Great Lakes Echo, and he dove into this topic for a recent story.
Lake whitefish are a native species in the Great Lakes and beloved by people who live in the region, an economically important species and also keystone species in the Great Lakes. And they currently are experiencing what is known in the world of fisheries biology as a recruitment problem, meaning that fewer young whitefish are making it to adulthood.
Kurt says invasive mussels are the likely culprit, specifically zebra and quagga mussels.
And this has to do with their impact on the base of the food web in the Great Lakes. They're filtering out the phytoplankton that provides food to the zooplankton that is the food source for baby whitefish.
In addition to the environmental impact, Kurt says this recruitment problem also has economic and cultural implications.
Lake whitefish is the most commercially valuable fish for commercial fishermen, both non-tribal and tribal fishing communities. The impact on tribal fishing communities that were here for thousands of years, they've been using this fish as an important food source and culturally as an important species in their lives. And it has, profound implications for the continuation of that tradition for those folks.
When it comes to combating invasive mussels, Kurt says that from his view, there's not much that can be done.
I have seen stories about efforts to control them, but really I think that horse left the barn. There are hundreds of trillions, I saw an estimate of peaks of at least 300 trillion quagga mussels with a T in Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. So they dominate the ecosystem.
Kurt says that some species in the Great Lakes ecosystem are beginning to adapt to the mussels, and he's hopeful that things will balance out in the long run.
Adult lake whitefish have started to feed on mussels. They're not as nutritionally, they're not a great food for lake whitefish. Another invasive species, the round goby, feeds on quagga mussels. And other fish, including lake whitefish, eat the round goby. So honestly, I think that, any thoughts of trying to eradicate these invasive mussels, to my mind, is not a practical solution. And it's something that the lakes are going to have to get used to. This is a new member of the community.
Kurt's story about whitefish recruitment is part of a 5-piece series he did for Great Lakes Echo, looking at significant ecological changes that test our collective ability to manage the Great Lakes.
Thanks for watching. For more on these stories and the Great Lakes in general, visit greatlakesnow.org. When you get there, you can follow us on social media or subscribe to our newsletter to get updates about our work. See you out on the lakes.